It is of my belief that a heart that is willing to change is greater than anything that is in the world of things, or the world of Caesar, or the outside, the shadow world, whatever it is you want to call it. I think a heart that is willing to change is greater than any of those things that are in it. Because if you have a heart that is willing to change, and as Neville said, you must want to be different. You must have that fundamental desire to be different. If you don't have that, then you're not going to really want to change at all. You don't really want to occupy anything new inside yourself. You're satisfied with where you live. You're comfortable. But you must want to be different. If you want the law to work, you must really want to be different. And the one thing I love is when I was reading Neville is that he said that he would let people see him the way he imagined himself to be. And I find this so important because I think for a long time, even in myself, I was so focused on the details of things. And I really got good. I really got good at imagining details. But that didn't change me. You have to change yourself, and then the outside will change. And the reason why I like the way that Neville said he'd let people see him the way he wanted to be seen is that he said that he would freeze the people inside his mind. He would see himself the way he would want to see himself, and then he would let those inside of him see him that way. He would allow it. It's that he already was the thing, and now he's allowing it to reflect back to him as a living mirror. Because I think that many times we focus on trying to change the things in order to change ourselves. It's that we've changed ourselves, and so the things change. And, we have a choice, and I really wish I knew when I first started my journey on Neville. Of course I didn't know, but I wish I would have known, is that everything I'm seeking from others is what I want to give myself, and everything that I'm seeking is within me. If you could just take those two ideas and meditate upon them, you can extract, just like a really, really juicy orange, you can extract a lot of juice from that, because those two things, I think, are going to call into question a lot of your ideas that you use to doubt yourself, your reason. And, you can use your imagination to imagine reason, or you can use it to imagine the wish fulfilled. But it's going to call into question, it's like when Christ said, don't say it's 4 months until harvest, but see that it's ripe now. The reason why I love that is because it pins you against time. And to be pinned against time can be a little bit uncomfortable. You have an instant reaction to say, well, it's not here. But that's not the point. The point is when you imagine, you don't allow time to be an obstacle to your wish fulfilled. Nothing's an obstacle to you inside, besides yourself, and besides what you imagine with reason. And that's why William Blake paints the character, your reason. He paints it with shackles, because your reason becomes your shackles in this case. What was once what you lived by becomes your bondage. When you listen to Neville, he asks you to give up reason. And reason is anything, as I said, that gets in the way of your wish fulfilled. And it's feeling it in the now that you already are. So you have to fight against these Goliaths of time in your mind when you imagine. The Goliath of, disbelief in yourself that it can't happen. These are things that you're going to have to war against, but you will be the victor. If you really feel that you are already the thing you want to be, or you have it, you're the victor. And you have to hold on to that faith and find something, as Neville said, you love, because then you'll commit to it. Meaning you will, if you want to change, you'll be loyal to your change. You won't go back. A man who has his hand on the plow but looks backwards is not fit. So you don't look backwards. You move from one state to another, like one thought from another thought. You just jump. And I think you have to have the willingness to be different. And when Neville said in the vision I had about imagining as things that are independent of you, what he meant was it's a feeling. It's like feeling like it's just happening. Like you're experiencing it to its full degree. Like imagine someone congratulating you in your mind, and you just let it happen as if like you're not even controlling them. They're just extending their hand out to you to congratulate you, and it feels totally independent, like it's just totally on their own free will. You imagine as if it's happening to you, and that to me feels natural. It feels like you're, as a friend said, surrendering to it. You surrender to these scenes. And don't be so concerned about making the scene perfect or making it so detailed. The scene is there to represent the change of you. Change yourself first, and the scene's there to imply it. That's all. It has to come to a change of self. Without the change of self, nothing changes. And I know that from experience. When I found out that I was focused on the details, I was focused on, well, is this enough? Or is this the right way? Or I never changed myself. I was battling within my own reason. That's all I did. I never really moved. To move from one state to another state is the complete letting go of the previous state. You cannot change in your mind unless you let go of what you are now. You have to be willing to let go of it. You have to be willing to change. Without it, don't be surprised that you wake up tomorrow morning the same person. You went to bed that way. And that's why I love when Neville says that, well, what state of consciousness am I sleeping in? Because that's the state I'm going to wake up in. And I've witnessed that in my life. You know, it's difficult to disprove this when you actually practice it. And that's the point, is I want you to be, I want you to feel fired up to test the law. Really, to truly test it, you have to find something within you that is a great enough yes that you don't want anything else. That it has to be a great big yes, or else you're going to wander in your own mind. You're going to be a wanderer, not really a conqueror. You're not really going to be something that occupies. You're going to always be in limbo in a way. And I was in that state for a long time because I was imagining within reason. I'd argue with myself about the timing or how it would happen, or what if something goes wrong, and I couldn't let go and just actually be it. I was more concerned with everything else. I was more concerned with anything else besides changing my actual self. And that was where my problem came in. That's what I needed to solve within me, was learning to actually move from one thing to the other without looking back. And I mean that. I'm being absolutely serious that you cannot let any kind of thought about your past, about the ideas of what you think your future is going to be like, or your habits, or whatever it is that you think can get in the way. You have to not allow that to get in the way in your imagination. You move fully, and you don't feel guilty for moving into a better state in your mind. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about movement. You use your feet of faith and you move somewhere new. If you don't do that, then you're not going to find success in this. You become indifferent totally to yourself. You become indifferent to yourself about that part of you that wants to keep you in the limiting state that you're in. For some reason, you want to imagine yourself out of it. There's a great enough desire in you to be different. And so you have that privilege. You have the approval, the validation. At one point, I needed validation. I didn't think it was within me. I thought it had to come from somebody else. And that was my mistake. And I find myself always making that mistake, not realizing that the thing I'm desiring is actually within me. And when I discover that, when I remember it, I stop forgetting, I stop desiring. I don't question myself as to, like, you know, is it possible, or is it that I don't really know if that's going to work. I don't bother myself with that. I'm told to believe I have it. That's all I'm told to do. And I'm going to try to test that. And what I've noticed is that when you test the law over time, you will become curious about something else. I think the law will bore you. And then you will become curious about the question, who am I? And that is a journey of itself. But I think that you should use the law to first try to change things about yourself. But you have to be willing. I'm going to repeat that a heart willing to change it's greater than anything that you can offer yourself, that you can give yourself in the world. Is a heart that's willing to change, always ready to experience fulfillment. That's what I would say. A heart that's ready to experience fulfillment. I think that if you have that, then you can learn the law very well. You can utilize it to your advantage in a way that I think Neville did. I think, Neville said he one time spent like 2 hours imagining himself to be different. And I think that's because that he doesn't say that in his later work. He says, oh, it's pretty simple. But I think it's because he opened himself up to change. I think it takes hours sometimes to actually think of ourselves differently, which if you could just see that the problem right now is that you think of yourself one way and you feel stuck in thinking of yourself that way. And you can't imagine yourself thinking of yourself in a different way. You have that power because you have it right now. But it's difficult to see when you're in those shitty states. I'm just going to say, when you're in those states, it can be so challenging to see an out. But you are your out. To see that light, it's you. You are the light you're looking for. That you are that change you're seeking. And Neville says you want to change so badly. It's like I think he said like a tiger in a drought that wants water. Like you want it so bad. You're thirsting for a difference inside yourself. And I'm just trying to give you motivation and maybe some understanding in how to be more effortless inside yourself. You don't have to be so difficult on making everything perfect. So don't go about your life trying to disprove negative states of yourself. Like, if you think of yourself a negative way and you try to disprove it, don't go disproving it. Go to changing yourself. Become indifferent to the states in you that don't need your belief anymore. And I'm going to end this with giving you, the inner man, ownership and power. And realize that you get to let those see you in the way you changed. You get to let them. And you own everything that's inside of you. You own all the states inside of you. You own them. You have ownership over every thought you have within you. And so don't feel unworthy to have anything inside. If you can let go of that, I think that you can truly live and bask in a peaceful environment inside. Then you can start to use the law and actually be able to be like the dog who knows his owner. You know your Lord. You know your Creator. And it's within you, as all things are.